Hello, I'm Bob Kleehammer. I'm the Executive General Manager here at Co-op City. And I wanted to take this opportunity to address the community mostly about the power outage that we had starting last Friday, February 26th. But before I get to that, I also want to talk a little bit about the new vaccination site that we have here located in Dreiser Auditorium. We have been trying for a few months to get the city to place a vaccination site here. I'm happy to report we finally have it. One of the problems was the availability of adequate supplies of vaccines. With the approval of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, that has opened up a large number of vaccines available to the general public. We opened the vaccination spot yesterday, which was Thursday, March 4th. Over 200 of your fellow residents were able to receive vaccines yesterday. 200 more are going to get them today. We also were able to have the city give vaccines to homebound residents here, and approximately 40 homebound residents will receive vaccines between yesterday and today. And this was a pilot program. We are the first in the city of New York to receive in-home vaccines. The city will roll out its citywide program for in-home vaccines March 15th. But we were the pioneers there, and we are happy to have worked with the city on developing that program. So I encourage everyone, go online, make an appointment to get vaccinated. We have been able to register Co-op City residents exclusively these first few days to get them vaccinated, but starting next week, the site will be open to the general public. All New Yorkers will be able to come here and get their vaccines. I know a lot of people wanted to be first in line or second in line, but whether you received it the first day, the 5th day, or the 10th day, the fact that we now have a vaccine that everyone can get that's eligible, and you go on the state's website to find out the eligibility criteria. But everybody will be able to get a vaccine. The city has committed to being here at least through the end of June, and we have told them that they can have the space in Dreiser Auditorium longer if they feel the need arises. Now let me turn to discussing the power outage that we had last Friday, February 26th. Early in the morning, approximately 10 o'clock, a fire was detected in one of the transformers located in Building 8. The result of the fire was that power was knocked out to buildings 1 through 7, Defoe townhouses, part of Deb's townhouses, all of Dreiser Mall, and Garage 1. Once the fire was put out and power plant crews were able to get into the transformer room to start work, we were unsure what was the exact cause of the fire. But we started a lengthy process that culminated in getting the power initially restored Friday night around 11 o'clock. And that process is multi-step. It requires that power plant crews go to each building to first determine that there were no damages downstream from Building 8 to any of that equipment, to do certain operations, closing certain switches, to allow us to try to reroute electricity to the buildings. And let me explain a little our infrastructure here at Co-op City. We have 2 feeders, an A feeder and a C feeder, and it basically rings the development. And electricity is brought to the buildings using one of those feeders, and the other feeder is kept in reserve as a redundant resource in the case of a failure. Well, the power going to the buildings on those feeders exceeds 13,000 volts. The transformer that caught on fire is the first transformer that receives that power, and it's what's called a step-down transformer. And that reduces the 13,000 plus volt feed down to 480 volts, which then goes up to other panels in the building floors. It gets stepped down once again, and that's what you use in your apartments. So as I said, we have 2 feeds. In each building, there are also 2 transformers, and one is usually working at all times. And then if that one were to have a problem, it should switch over to the other one. The fire that was started in one of the transformers did not allow for that switchover to occur. We believe it was because of an electrical fault in one of those two underground feeds. So most of Friday was spent with trying to determine if the rest of the buildings were fine and switching the power that was at that day on the A feed over to the C feed so that we could bring all of the buildings back online. We were able to do that, as I said, by 11 o'clock Friday night. And the power held all day Saturday night. Around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock Sunday morning, the power again went out. Once again, power plant crews got here. We started the process, and it's a very, very tedious, lengthy process of determining what might have caused that feed. Now, as I said, on Friday, the feed was being used before the transformer fire was the A. Friday night, we restored power to all the affected buildings on the C feed. That then went down on Sunday morning. We determined that there was a fault in that C feed, and we then switched back to the A feed on Sunday and was able to restore power again by about noon to most of the buildings. On Friday night, we had put Building 8 also back on direct feed from the power plant, although that day we had ordered and a temporary generator was delivered to the community that we were going to use for Building 8. Friday night, we determined we were able to get electricity back into Building 8 using the redundant transformer that had not been damaged by the fire. So when the power went down again Sunday and we were able to get power back up to all the other buildings, we decided not to put Building 8 back on a direct feed from the power plant. And we did hook that up to the generator that had been delivered Friday. Also, what we determined on Sunday morning is that we would order a generator for each of the other 7 buildings, and the townhouses are fed off some of those buildings. So we ordered 7 additional generators to have on standby in case we couldn't maintain the electrical feed from the power plant. And that came in handy because late Monday afternoon, the generator that serviced Building 8 faulted on us. And we did some initial tests. We determined the problem wasn't in Building 8, that the problem was with the generator. Well, because we had ordered those other standby generators on Sunday, we were able to pull one of those into vicinity of Building 8, power up Building 8 by late Monday night. If we had not had those generators here on Sunday, we probably would not have been able to restore power to Building 8 until probably midday on Tuesday. So we were fortunate. Since last Monday, all the power has been restored. It's been functioning. And we've now started the process of trying to determine what the exact issue is. Initially, we believe that there is a fault in one of the feeders. Now, those feeders are underground. They do come out of the ground and expose themselves in a series of manholes between the power plant and the buildings. And we're hoping that by doing some testing, we will be able to pinpoint the exact location of the feed, or I should say of the fault in the feed, and then cut out that portion of the defective line, rewire it, and get the buildings back on normal service. In the meantime, we'll also be replacing the generator that caught fire in Building 8 and trying to restore service. I mean, this is another indication, and I've spoken to the community before in different meetings about our aging infrastructure and about programs to maintain and improve the infrastructure. We've spent a lot of money and a lot of time the past few years hardening the equipment in the power plant, which has increased its reliability. We've been able to sell more excess power to Con Ed than we need here in Co-op City. So we're pretty comfortable about the condition of the physical plant at the power plant. And we now have to spend more time, more money in trying to harden our grid. And for those of you who may not know, we technically are not on the Con Ed grid. We have the ability to import power from Con Ed through the power plant if any of the equipment in the plant were to fail and we weren't be able to produce our own electricity. But once the Con Ed electricity comes into the power plant, we distribute it. So the grid within Co-op City is maintained by Co-op City. It's not part of the Con Ed system. We have money in the proposed budget to try to do some work to harden that system, but it is a process. It'll take time. It'll take several years, but we are seeking to have as reliable delivery of electricity as possible. While the situation last week was unfortunate, it also was the first multi-building outage we have had in Co-op City in approximately 2 years. The last outage was February of 2019. I remember it well. It was a Saturday afternoon. That problem did emanate from the power plant, and we were able to restore power in an hour and a half. Obviously, our goal is to not have any outages. But in able to accomplish that, it does mean that we're going to have to spend time and money to improve the system, replace parts of the system, and harden parts of the system. I hope I've been able to give you a good summary of what occurred, but I also want you to know the power plant teams performed exceptionally. If you were in the dark, you probably didn't think the power came on fast enough. But based on every step that we had to do to ensure that it was restarted in a reliable manner, I think we worked very well to get the power back on. I hope to have another opportunity in the future to address the community. And if you have any questions, by all means, please send them to me. I'm located at 2049 Bartow Avenue. Thank you.